Hello everyone. This hour on Verbling, the next in my Getting Results in Business series. We're working on part 2, that's our vocabulary section, part 2 of how to make a first impression. We're going to be reading a text, picking out key vocabulary to talk about good impressions and bad impressions and what goes into an impression, and we'll be doing some speaking activities based on what we read and listen to today. Okay, that's a bit about the class. Here's a bit about me. I'm Jon-Eric, your Verbling teacher for this hour. I'm an American teacher from New York, hanging out in Lisbon, Portugal to bring you this class. Here are 3 quick rules to help you participate. Don't forget to turn off, tune in, and open up, which means when you're not speaking, turn off your microphone to keep the classroom nice and quiet. When you are speaking, tune in to the new words that you learned. And is that way I can give you feedback, and you can learn from the feedback. I can correct you, that kind of thing. Finally, open up to your classmates. Relax and have fun. We're all here to learn, and this is a safe and respectful place to practice your English. In the course material on the Verbling page, you'll notice this presentation. You can see it there, and I'll post it in the links as well. We're going to jump right into this. Let me just make sure that you can see this. So let me give you a quick copy of that. If you go to the Verbling chat window right now, I just posted the presentation. And I'm going to post a second link to our shared notes. In case we end up taking notes, I'll post that there. So you can see both of those right now. Okay? So let me just say a quick welcome back to Giuseppe and Christian. Nice to have you back. And let's say hello to Francesco, because I don't think I know you. Hi, Francesco.
Hi, John.
Have I seen you before? Because I don't recognize you.
No, it's the first time.
Where are you from?
From Italy.
From Italy. Everyone's from Italy. Where are you from in Italy?
Milan.
From Milan. Okay. Yeah. That's a different part of Italy. Everyone else is from the south, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
Christian, I forgot. Where are you from? Remind me. You told me yesterday, but I forgot.
Yeah, hello. I am from Chile.
Christian, are you there?
I am from Chile.
I forgot where you're from. Ah, from Chile. Right.
But I lived in Sweden now.
That's right. I remember now. Yes. I remember now because you told me. I forgot. Then you told me, then I remembered. See how that works? All right. So listen, everyone. Yesterday we mostly had a discussion. We mostly started to talk about. We gave our impression of a place. So that's how we start. This is a business English class, so when we talk about impressions, it's going to be in a professional context. But we began by talking about our impression of a place based on this picture, which we found out was in Valencia. So in our notes, I don't have them open right now, but in our notes, as a group, we each took a turn going through my little process, the one that I gave you for describing pictures, and we added a sentence, and together we came up with what sounds not bad. If you were doing an exam and you had to talk about the theme of this unit based on the picture, the answer doesn't sound bad at all. So actually, let me just tell you where that was. We're going to continue on. We're not going to do that today, but we're going to continue on. But if you want to refer to that, I think it's on page 5 of our notes. Let me just double check. I think it is. Yeah, it's on page 5 of our notes. So if you open the Getting Results in Business Google Doc, you'll see it there. And just to remind you from yesterday, we'll pick up there by just reviewing that quickly. Hold on a second. If I can get my screen sharing, we'll do that really quickly. And then we'll move on to the text that we're going to read and the listening we're going to do. So yesterday we gave an impression, and we followed a simple format that I've given you. It's on page 15 of this document. When you've got to talk about the theme of something, and you're given a picture or a visual prompt, I ask you to go through 4 stages to quickly come up with context and to structure it. You can, otherwise you'll spend a lot of time meandering around your answer. You'll go in this direction and that direction. So I gave you a way that helps you organize your thoughts really quickly. Step 1 was say what you see. Step 2, say why you're seeing it. Speculate about what it's got to do with the theme. Compare and contrast. Then state a personal preference. So this is the one we did yesterday. Well, there appears to be someone riding a bicycle, and they look rather minuscule compared to the architecture. So remember that picture I just flashed on screen. There also seems to be an artificial lake creating a kind of futuristic feeling or mood. The building in the background looks a bit like a museum and is reflected in the lake. That really shows the scale of the structure, which is quite immense. In fact, it may be entirely unique. For instance, the sphere in the background is quite difficult to construct, so you wouldn't find this sort of building just anywhere. I might also mention everywhere around the building is quite impressive too. The light, especially, is wonderful and very dramatic. It brings to mind one of those sci-fi spaceships. That you see in. Both have a lot of glass. Both the building you're looking at and the spaceship have a lot of glass and interior lighting, which creates a fantastic atmosphere. Personally, though, I'd rather see this place in broad daylight, because otherwise it reminds me of a bad night with jet lag, like when you get out of the airport and you're in some kind of modern-looking airport where they're trying to impress people visiting the country. I kind of can relate to that, I understand. Anyway, so this is a good example. It's not a bad answer, and which is interesting because everyone gave a sentence. Not all the sentences were about the same thing, but it doesn't sound bad. All of the words in bold are our connectors. So these are things that you should think about using. You should try to actively use, particularly when you have to talk about something at length. Like if you're given 1 minute to talk about it, you can use these to help structure what you're going to say. So that was the impression we got. Let's take a look at the picture one more time, because we're going to need it to read the text, because the text is about something similar. So let me get the text back on screen. There we go. And there we go. So this is what we were describing: futuristic, immense, large-scale, spacious. Now the only thing we didn't really touch on was why it's built this way, what the impression actually is supposed to be. Well, I suppose we might add that we're meant to feel kind of small. This is meant to feel sort of large and awesome in some way. So if this were a business, they'd want to impress you with how modern they were. They'd want to impress you with the scale of their projects. If you're going to, I don't know, the Google headquarters, and this was their head office, they would be trying to impress you with the scale, the immensity, and maybe the creativity with which they do projects. So they're giving you this impression very deliberately to make you think about the kind of business that they are. Of course, this is not really a business, but we could imagine that it was and what they'd be trying to do. So I want you to keep that in mind as we do our reading. In this unit, the learning objectives are talking about impressions, introducing yourself by email, and then whatever's connected to that, making a follow-up call, arranging to meet someone, because that's where you're going to make your first impression. So there's a logic to this. Later on in the unit, we're going to be exchanging contact details after arranging to meet, and then finally talking about your work and company, reviewing the present simple and continuous. When is it more appropriate to use I go or I am going? Those two forms, present simple and continuous. Today, we're going to finish talking about impressions, and the introduction about email, that's probably going to be tomorrow's class. So actually the arrow should be up one. We're going to focus more on the vocabulary, talking about first impressions. Okay, so let's jump right into our text. Let's see. Well, Christian, why don't you start us off? Why don't you read the left half, and Francisco, why don't you read the right half of our text? and then we're going to pick out some of the key words and use them in an exercise. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, go ahead, Christian.
Okay, I need to read.
Please read.
Okay, impressions. An accompanying imagine it's like an orchestra.
Wait. Image.
Image.
Not
Okay.
imagine. Right.
Image. Okay, accompanies image is like an orchestra.
An orchestra.
Orchestra.
Good.
No single instrument is responsible for an orchestra. Success or failure. Failure. Likewise, the image that a company project is not based on a single business card. Glossy.
Brochure.
Or fashionable display. But on the total impression created by all of these things and more. There are many intangibles that can be critical, like the reputation you have, your principles and professionalism, your creativity, and even the warmth of an initial welcome.
Okay, good. And Francisco, continue on the right side, please.
Okay. For a company to come across well internationally, it also needs to consider the culture of its client or customer. A Finn might take an instant dislike to extravagance. A Ghanaian might prefer innovation to tradition. A Qatari might put personal rapport before
Wait. Rapport
before anything else. Images can create a negative impression or a positive feeling in a few seconds. If you get it right, that favorable first impression will help in building a successful business relationship.
Very good. Okay, there's a lot of information in this short text. Let me just ask if someone could give us the gist of the text. What is the takeaway point here? Would anyone like to kind of summarize it into one basic idea? If there's one lesson you should take away from this text, what do you think it is? Any volunteers? Okay, so, then I volunteer Yuki.
Image, their company has a own image. It depends. It is not sole image. There are many images, and it's all together have make company feel such a image.
We don't use such.
Sorry.
We don't use such.
This direction.
Or this kind of direction, or this sort of direction.
Sort of direction.
Yeah.
So it, or as well, image depend on the people of country. Each people in each country have their own tendency to thinking about on its preference.
I think your summary is longer than the text.
Sorry.
Look, the basic point you're saying is right. The image is not one image, it's many images. Absolutely right. And that image, is it just a simple thing? If you have a good business card, you've got a good image, right?
Yes.
Is it that simple?
Yes.
If you've got a good business card, you've got a good image, right, Carmen?
No.
No, of course not. It's not that simple. So it seems to depend on two kinds of things, generally. There are lots of different things, but two general kinds of things. One is other aspects of your company, and what Yuki was getting at in the last part was what, Carmen? Besides just the other aspects of your company, your creativity, blah, blah, blah. What's this part?
The reputation you've got. I'm not quite sure about it.
Yeah, yeah. And what about all this stuff about the Finns and Ghanaians and Qataris?
Well, it depends on the nationality because, you know, different cultures have got different preferences. So perhaps for them, top ones must be the relationship between the companies. Other ones would prefer innovation. So it depends on the culture of the
right. So generally,
parts.
it's your reputation, which is, as Yuki said, many different images. It's not just one thing that you want to show, and everyone feels that way. There's many aspects to it. And second, it's about the reception of that image by different cultures. So a Finn might like you, but a Ghanaian might not, because of the difference in culture and what they favor in the culture, what they value. So it's kind of a two-sided coin. So it's an interesting idea, and there's a lot of information in this short text, but I think it's something we can think about as we do the unit, that impressions are not quite so simple as we might think, or as we might want them to be. So let's keep that in mind. Let's work a little bit with that vocabulary, because we've got some good keywords for making an impression. So here, let me make this a little smaller. It asks us to read the text again and answer the questions. Well, let's do that together. Hyde, let me ask you this first one. What are the instruments that the text mentions? What are these instruments? Are we talking about stethoscopes and barometers? Is that part clear in the text? Hello, Hyde? Hello?
She disappeared.
She disappeared? Oh, she did. Giuseppe. What are the instruments that the text mentions?
Well, the instruments.
Yeah, remember,
this
this
case,
is just your opinion. It's sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, but go ahead. Give me your idea.
Well, I guess a company can use different instruments to come across with the customers and the others.
Right.
Companies.
Can you give me an example?
The instruments are based on the reputation, the creativity, the innovation about of what the company is able to product.
Able to what?
To product.
Sorry, that's a noun. You need a verb.
To produce. Sorry.
Produce. Right. To produce.
To produce.
Okay. So far, so good. But are there actual physical instruments, tangible things?
Physical?
Yeah, what are the actual tangible things that are the instruments? I agree with you that in general these are the things that you use to create the image, but what are the actual tangible ones?
I might mention
good key connector.
The ethics of the company, how the company behaving with the customer.
Okay.
With its employees and so on.
Let's not call that ethics. Let's call that customer relations.
Customer relation.
Ethics would be like, does it treat workers well? Does it have an environmental policy? So here, maybe you're talking about customer relations. What's its relation to the customer? Sure, absolutely. I don't know how tangible that is. Maybe you're right. But I was thinking more of the glossy brochure, because you can touch it. It's tangible. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, glossy means it reflects light, like glass. So in other words, a brochure that's expensive, that looks good, really good quality paper, that that's been laminated, so it's kind of maybe shiny.
Shiny.
Right? Shiny, glossy, shiny. So I don't know, Giuseppe. I think that the instruments are more those physical things like the glossy brochure, the business card, the display window for maybe a store. I don't know. That's kind of my impression, because I think we're distinguishing between tangible and intangible things that give an impression. So, or maybe the instruments is everything together. Maybe that's a valid point. Okay. Sorry, I can't see anyone. Where am I? Can we go back to the classroom? Let's see. Well, Francesco.
Yes.
What is the meaning of intangibles in the business context, the one that we're reading about? We talked a little bit about tangibles. Let's go back to the other meaning, intangibles.
Intangibles, meaning that there aren't a concrete object like a final product. Intangibles are like an abstract.
Absolutely, something abstract.
Abstract.
Something that you can't necessarily touch. Okay, sounds good. So let's be clear here in this context. What are some of the intangibles that have been mentioned that you recall?
Reputation.
Reputation, right?
Principles.
Absolutely.
Professionalism and creativity.
There we go. I think that's all of them. Give me a second and I'll put this back on screen. I have to quickly move a file. That's why I have the screen sharing off, because I can't do this at the same time. 1 second. Okay, I think I got it. I'll put this text back on screen. Hold on. Whoops. Sorry, it's a little hard to do two things at once with my computer. Okay, there we go. So yeah, reputation, principles, professionalism, creativity. That's it. Things that you can't really touch, but they're just as important for creating an impression as the business card, glossy brochure, display, things like that, things that are tangible, they can be touched. Okay? The next question. Christian, how important do you think it is to consider the culture of your client or customer? Can you give us any examples from your own experience?
Okay, I think that we need to consider the culture of our client or customer. It's important because exist many different culture on each country.
Instead of saying exist, you should say there are many different.
Yeah, I think so.
I know, but instead of the word exist, in English you should say there is or there are.
Oh, okay.
There are many different. What were you saying?
Oh, okay. There are many different things that you need to consider. The culture in each country that you have any business, because for different cultures is important or it's sensible. Many things, for example, in countries like, for example, Iraq or people Muslims, it's
Muslim countries, not Muslim, Muslim.
Muslim, it's important, for example, the expression about the body,
right.
people with clothes, that thing.
There was an anecdote that when was this? I remember this anecdote when there was a meeting with Saddam Hussein when he was still a friend of the United States. You know, he used to be our buddy before we invaded his country. He was our friend for a while, and I can't remember who it was now. It was this story that someone was going to meet him, Donald Rumsfeld or somebody, and he walked out of the room because Rumsfeld I think it was Rumsfeld, but because he was the one who was having meetings with him, but it could have been someone else. I don't remember. One of the senators or someone had lifted his feet up off the ground, and it was considered an insult to show the soles of your feet, the soles of your shoes. You're not allowed to show underneath your shoe. So he walked out of the room, and they had to convince him to come back to finish the meeting. Talk about body language. So there you go. Anyway, just reminded me of that. Okay, so there you go. If you were in a business situation, you'd want to know that. You'd want to know that before you had your business meeting, right? If we're talking about a business context, you can't really judge it, but you can, but you need to consider it. You know, it needs to be part of your behavior, let's say. And finally, the last question here is, can you discuss an experience you have had of a positive or negative first impression of a company? Okay, I'll leave this open to the group. Can you think of a positive or negative impression that you've had based on something cultural, perhaps? Anything come to mind? Just out of curiosity? I'm more interested in negative ones because they tend to be funny. No?
You asking about the concrete image of
Well, something that you've experienced personally. Have you had any
personally,
negative?
I have very bad impression from the company Microsoft
Absolutely.
because I used to work Windows, but I have experienced hundreds of hangout of
Hang-ups?
hang
Like
up,
problem?
sorry,
Yeah.
hang up of programs. I was very struggled with it, from it.
It reminds me when I went back to New York the last time, when I went home, I was doing some research, but I had to pay for things because my grant didn't really cover very much. So when I got there, I had to get a job. So I was working I just got a job as a bartender at an events place, but it was a really big events place in New York, and you know, so Hillary Clinton would be there giving a speech, or Bill Gates would come and present something, or not Bill Gates, but whoever was running the company. I remember when Microsoft came to launch Windows 7. I think it was Windows 7. There was a big screen that said "The wow is now" on the screen, and they couldn't get it. They couldn't get PowerPoint to work. The new PowerPoint. It said "The wow is now," and it was stuck there the entire time. And all these people who were, I don't know, they must have paid a lot to get in the door, because it was kind of a big fancy place across the street from Grand Central Station. It's this big old bank with Romanesque columns and marble, things you don't see in New York very often. And anyway, the wow wasn't now. I'm not sure where the wow was. So that was my experience with Microsoft.
It often happens with this company. Before I worked as an interpreter, and customers came from Russia to Japan, and workers of Microsoft gave a presentation, and he want to explain how new products of new software is good of his company, but in the place of presentation, this program didn't work, so they were very upset, and
That seems to be a very common theme.
they
That's
gave
what
a
happens to me too.
bad impression of this new product.
Giuseppe, you're the one who works for a company, a pretty big company, right? Do you think your company gives a good
Yes.
impression? You've said that it's a kind of a market leader in semiconductors and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's semiconductors, isn't it?
Yes, it's a good yes, semiconductor.
So how does it make a good impression on the market? I'm just curious. So it probably doesn't have Microsoft-style demonstrations where nothing works, I would imagine. So how does it make a good impression?
Well, it's a bigger company which is structured in providing multiple technical skills in different areas, and take care about public relations with the customer, and
Take care of? Take care of?
not to take
Not take care of.
care about the customer.
Oh, it cares about the customers, or it pays attention to customer relations. Pays attention to, not take care of. Pays
Yes,
attention to.
pays attention to the customer's relations, because because the customer is the core value of the company.
Very good. And who are the customers exactly? It's not people.
Intel, the old AMD, which is now called Global Foundries.
The Global Foundry?
Global Foundries.
And what was it before?
AMD.
Oh, AMD, the chip company.
Chip company, yes.
Okay, AMD. I didn't know they changed their name. Oh, okay. Right. They make good chips, actually. Yeah. Okay, good.
And the company is considered one of the most the biggest company, and one of the biggest company in the semiconductor field, as well as awarded from the customers. And you can see on internet that the company is a very global leader, and is the global leader market in the semiconductor.
Okay, so it sounds like it's using its intangibles more than the tangibles. From our definition here of intangible and tangible, it sounds like it's using its reputation,
professionalism, creativity, and principles, as well as rapport.
With rapport.
There's
no T in rapport. Because it's French. So when we take a French word, we usually keep the pronunciation. Rapport. We keep the word. We keep the word as it's supposed to be pronounced, more or less. Rapport. Okay, that brings to mind some of the vocabulary, actually. So let's take a look at that. Match the words in bold with the definition. So let's make sure that all those words are really clear. Something that is wasteful or expensive. So you're only picking words in bold. Okay? Carmen, something that's wasteful or expensive. What do you think?
I'd go for extravagance.
Extravagance is correct. And extravagance. The ability to produce something using imagination or artistic skills. Christian. Remember, only the words in bold. What do you think, Christian? The key word here is using imagination or artistic skills. Key word, imagination. What do artists have? If it's using artistic skills, what do artists all have?
What's the full? Let me a second.
What's that?
I understand the word.
Which word?
Wasteful.
Wasteful. But where is that? I don't see that word anywhere. Remember, Christian, we're only using the words in bold, the dark words. So reputation, principles, professionalism, creativity, extravagance, innovation, tradition, rapport. So wasteful is not one of our key words. Wasteful means to throw something out when you shouldn't throw it out. Okay? But that's number one. We already did number one. We're on number two. The ability
Okay.
to produce something using imagination or artistic skills. Number 2.
Creative.
Exactly. Creativity. Repeat. Creativity.
Creativity.
Exactly. Creativity. Number 3, a high standard of skill or behavior. Francesco.
Professionalism.
It's got to be in this list professionalism. That's it. A friendly understanding. Number 4, Giuseppe. A friendly understanding.
Rapport.
Rapport. Good pronunciation, too. Number 5, new ideas, Yuki. New ideas or methods.
Innovation.
It's got to be innovation here. That's it. Okay, and Ahmed, even though you didn't read it, maybe you can figure this out from the definition. Number 6, the views generally held about somebody or something. Which of the words in bold it best fits that definition?
Might be reputation.
Reputation. So we've been talking about tangible and intangible things that help create a first impression. Reputation would be which? Tangible or intangible?
Intangible.
Intangible, something that you cannot touch, something that is abstract. Okay? And Carmen, what about, I lost my place.
7.
7. Strong beliefs that influence
You got
action.
it back.
Yes.
Strong beliefs that influence action. So I would go for tradition.
Strong beliefs. Beliefs.
Strong beliefs.
Yeah, beliefs. Can't be tradition. Traditions aren't only beliefs. Because look at number 8. A way of doing something that existed for a long time. Well, the key there is existed for a long time, so that's got to be tradition.
So which one have we got here? Principles.
It's got to be principles here,
Okay then.
right? Because the key word there is probably strong belief. So what you believe in strongly is probably the principle that you'll run your business.
Yeah, that's
out,
it.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I got it wrong.
Okay, so that's it. Once again, from 1 to 8, we have extravagance, creativity, professionalism, rapport, not report, rapport. Number 5, innovation. Number 6, reputation. Number 7, principles. 8, tradition. The way of doing something that existed for a long time would be tradition. Now, now that you know those, I want you to choose the right word out of these words which sometimes get confused. You've got the 2 choices in italics. So we're just going to keep going around the room, starting with Christian. Read it and choose the correct word. Number 1.
Okay. What kind of image?
What kind of image?
What kind of image would your company like to show or project? Project. Yeah.
Right. Repeat these 2 words. Image.
Image.
Right. I know it's spelled with an A, but we don't pronounce the A. The A for us is not stressed. When it's not stressed, it's pronounced image.
Image.
That's it. And project.
Project.
Okay, good. Is project a noun, a verb, or an adjective here? Is it a noun, a verb, or an adjective, Christian?
Nouns?
Are you sure?
No. Adjectives.
Look, your company would like to...
It's like she used to is like an action.
Exactly. It's got to be an action, right? Because you could say to do. So to project. Okay. When it's an action, we put the stress on the second syllable. Project. If it was a noun, it would be project. So the difference between noun and verb is noun, the stress, la sílaba tónica, the stress is on the first syllable, project. As a verb, the stress is on the second syllable, project.
Okay.
All right, so what kind of image would you like your company to project? Okay, just to be clear, it's always the same. Record is a noun. Record, second syllable, is a verb. Project, project. And the pattern is always like that in English. All right, Francesco, number 2. Choose the correct word in italics.
What sort of reputation do you or your company have?
Have, not hold. Good. By the way, repeat this word. Reputation.
Reputation.
Right. Remember, it's not reputation, but repu.
Okay, thank you.
It's always there's always an E before a U when it's in the middle of a word. Reputation. Okay, good. And it's have, not hold. We'll see hold. There are no examples with hold here, but I'll give you an example later, but there's no ones here. Okay, let's keep going down the list. Giuseppe, what about number 3?
Is there anything about your company that always creates a good impression for new customers?
Good. Always creates is a better choice than forms. Creates a good impressions for new customers. It's hard to give a reason why it's one or the other, so you really have to go by what sounds right, but you're correct. It's to create a good impression. That's it. And we're on to Yuki for 5. No, for 4. Sorry, 4.
In your life of work, how
in your line of work.
Sorry, if your line of work, how important is it for you to build a relationship with customers or clients?
Absolutely. We build a reputation. We build a relationship, not assemble. There, the meaning would be totally different, so we can't even use it. That's it. Build a relationship. Okay, and we're back to Ahmed for number 5.
Okay. Have you ever might be taken.
I
agree. Have you ever taken an instant dislike to anyone you met in the course of your work? What were the reasons for this?
So to take a dislike to is an expression. It's a collocation, actually. To take a dislike to is correct. Okay, and Carmen, the last one, number 6.
How do you think you go across to people you meet for the first time? How do you think you
in other words,
across?
How are you perceived by others? How are you perceived? So come across or go across?
How you come across to people? How you go across? I don't have any idea.
Well, if you're being perceived, that means your image is being exactly.
Come across. That's it.
Right. Because your image is being received. So come.
So that's 2 different verbs. So it's to come across and to go across. Got to use the same preposition for both.
We have to use what for both? Sorry.
The same preposition, the cross.
Same preposition, but different meanings.
Okay then.
Come across is to be perceived. Go across is to travel somewhere, like go across the street. Okay, so how do you come across? It is correct. So it's project, have, number 2, creates, number 3, build, taken, and come across for number 6. That's it. All right. I think we're not really going to have time to do this part because it's going to be way too long. No, I don't think we can do this. Yeah, we're going to have to stop here. Okay, look, because if I start to do this, we're going to end up. Okay, now let's just do it. Forget it. We're going to go over time a little bit, but let's try it. We're still talking about making impressions. So what you're going to do is listen to a web designer. I have no idea how to pronounce this guy's name because it's written in English with funny whatever, not pinyin, so I don't know how to say it. Anyone speak Chinese? Anyone? No? Okay. It's probably Jif. I don't know. I'm not going to guess. Anyway, Mr. Lee. We'll call him Lee. Mr. Lee, a web designer in Hong Kong, talking about adapting website to local needs. What he's really talking about is making the right impression, considering the idea of culture, like we talked about with Finns and Ghanaians and Qataris earlier in class. You need to consider two things. In what ways is website localization like other forms of advertising? And number two, what differences between websites for Western and Asian consumers does Mr. Lee mention? So I want you to be able to answer those two questions from listening to this short interview. Now, the only problem is, to do the interview, I need to open this on my computer. So give me just a second, because I need to turn off my screen sharing to do this. Hang on just a second. Let's all look at Giuseppe while I do this. There you go. I'm going to put Giuseppe on screen. Wave, Giuseppe. Say hi to everyone. Because I don't. There you go. Everyone look at Giuseppe. Just look at Giuseppe for a minute. Because I've got to open things and I don't want you to see the document, so I'm moving the camera to
Look
you.
at my picture.
So look at Giuseppe's picture, everyone. Give me just a second here while I set this up. Because I've got to find the text, but I don't want you to read the text. I want you just to listen to it. So that's why we're looking at Giuseppe. Hold on a second here. Almost there. I think this is text number what? Hold on a second. Almost. Give me a second. Where's my PDF? Hold on. Text number 6. Okay, got it. Got it. Well, I have number 6, but that doesn't look correct. Okay, it's not text number 6. It's exercise 6. It's text number 1, audio number 1. Okay, here we go. Got it. I'll put myself back on screen. Okay, listen and follow along. Think about those two questions that I just mentioned. And here we go. Remember, this is an interview, so two people are speaking. The presenter says, so, is most of your work to do with translating websites from English? So remember, he's a website designer, and he's talking about localization. Mr. Lee says, no, not really, although we do get a lot of Western companies who want to break into Asian markets. The problem is, they think they can just come along and translate their website just like that. But really, that's a very expensive and an ineffective way of doing things. Presenter. There's more to it than that, huh? Mr. Lee. Yes, and to be honest, it's quite arrogant to think you can just create a favorable impression and attract a lot of customers without really trying. To start with, customers are still wary, presenter, what, of newcomers or of the technology? Mr. Lee. Both. You have to work hard to show that you are trustworthy. You have to work hard to show that you're trustworthy and to make customers feel confident in your company. Presenter. Yes, but that's not a particularly Asian phenomenon, is it? I mean, if you have a website with spelling mistakes, people are bound to be suspicious, aren't they? Mr. Lee says, that's right, but just like in traditional advertising, some things are more effective in some countries than others. Presenter. So, you're really saying a localized website would need to be genuinely different in some way? Mr. Lee. Yes, in the West, websites have a lot of words, lots of facts and figures. They're often quite complex. But here, the websites that work best are simple and functional, in the same way that many Asian cultures prefer ones that are, presenter, a case of that are modest rather than ostentatious. Presenter, a case of less is more? Mr. Lee. Yes, exactly. And you have to understand the local culture. For example, here in China, when people go shopping online, they like sites where they can bargain and make a deal, because that's what they like to do in real life. Presenter. So a website like that would need a lot more than just translating. You need to have you might have to rebuild the whole site. Mr. Lee, that's right. For a really successful website localization, you have to start the process from the beginning, taking all these cultural things into account, and not just translate the words and hope for the best. Okay, let's think about that for a minute. I'm going to ask you, hang on just a second, I got to get my page back where it was. Whoops. 1 second. Come on, Google, work. There we go. Okay. Class as a whole, who can answer this question? In what way is website localization like other forms of advertisement? What did you gather from the interview you just heard? He does mention other forms of advertisement. He does mention that towards the end of the presentation. Towards the end, he mentions it. So, what's your impression from what you heard? Any ideas?
I don't know. Website localization have to be make in the process of localization, you have to think about website have to give customers a favorite impression. They have to attract the customer.
Okay. It has to give the customers a favorable impression, just like regular marketing. That's the idea? Carmen, were you going to say something? Because I think...
Yeah, I was about to say that it's not as easy as it looks.
Right.
But because what you've got to do is to adapt to a different language, but also a different culture.
Wait. Traduct? No, not traduct. Try again.
No, adapt.
Or translate.
Well, what you do is to translate it, but you've got to adapt it to get the words you're using to this kind of particular culture, because you can't just translate from English to Chinese, for instance. You cannot use the same language. You cannot use the same words because it's different what you're trying to say. Because there are some cultural context that you got to take into account.
Absolutely. And one of this cultural context. Well, let's talk about that now. In the second question, what differences between websites for Western and Asian consumers does Mr. Lee mention? So let's talk about those cultural contexts for a second.
Western website it's important for Western website to give Western website like art. It's a figure. It's quite complex too. But Asian website is simple.
According to Mr. Lee, right? They like it's got to be functional. It's got to be simple,
functional,
and modest,
simple, direct,
and modest. Yeah, that's. He didn't mention the word modest, but you're probably right about that. It might.
No, he said it because I wrote it down. Yeah, you did it. He said modest. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I missed that.
I think you did.
Perhaps I did.
I just wrote it down, so I don't know why. And it says simple, functional, and modest. That's what I heard.
Especially Chinese.
Oh yeah, you're right. Look, you're right up here. In the same way that many Asian cultures prefer offices that are modest rather than ostentatious. It's up there in the middle. Yeah. You're right. Absolutely. Okay, and well, we've actually got to stop because I have another class. We've got to stop at this point. Okay, but listen, we're going to pick up on that tomorrow because we need to focus on some of the language that he used. So I'm going to, we're going to pick up on this exercise. We picked out some of the key adjectives that were used. In the first part, we focus on nouns. So in the beginning of next class, we're probably going to read along, listen to and read along the presentation a second time, and then go back and match up these big B2 level. We're no longer an intermediate, we're an upper intermediate now. These big upper intermediate vocabulary words, these adjectives. So that will give you one set of nouns, keywords, one set of adjective descriptions, and based on those two things in tomorrow's class, we're going to be, where is it? Here we go. We're going to be, what are we going to be doing here? Because I don't want to just talk about a good or bad impression. I'd like to do a little bit more. Here it asks us to talk about it, but I want to do more than that. I want to think about, I'd rather that we try to plan our brand identity as a group. So we pick a company and try to have a strategy meeting, a short one, where we discuss how we're going to create the best impression through intangible and tangible resources. So we'll adapt this to be more of a speaking activity, a business meeting, something that you might encounter at work, rather than just, we'll use this part here, but rather than just talk about good and bad impressions, I'd like us to actually do something. So we'll probably be planning. So if you want to get a head start, just download this and take a look at slide 10 if you want to do that as a short activity. We'll go over the answers in the beginning of class tomorrow, okay? And then we'll go on and have our business meeting from there. All right. Are there any questions before I go? I did a lot of correcting, but I didn't really put the notes in the notes document. So if there's any questions, you can ask me now, or hold them off until tomorrow, or send me a message through Verbling, and I can answer your questions through the Verbling message system as well. 3 options for you, okay?
Okay.
Are we cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yes. We are.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Same
Yeah,
time
bye-bye.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Goodbye.